brother Tommy, and his brothers Bob and John, and the extended family are very, very grateful that you would take the time to be here to remember Jim's life with them today. So thanks so much for coming. Folks, there's no way to say it. Jim's death is a tragedy. It's simply terrible and awful, and frankly, it sucks. And any life cut down by another at any age is a blow to the family and friends. We think of the years that Jim would have had left to live on earth. We didn't get to say goodbye to him. We think of him not being able to watch his children and grandchildren continue to grow and watch those grandchildren graduate from high school, get married, and more. In addition, people here are probably asking, why did this happen to Jim? Why now? God, why did this happen? And the answers to these questions are never given to us here on earth. We probably wouldn't like the answers anyway. Even having answers doesn't take away the sadness and the loss that most all of you are feeling right now. It's one of the reasons God commanded us, you will not murder. Why? It ruins lives. It ruins lives. It shatters families and it leaves a scar that will never go away. Now, I realize there's a lot of emotions going on in the room right now. There's definitely sadness, a feeling of loss, tragedy. There's probably also feelings of anger, real anger. And if I were you, I'd be mad too. I'd be really angry. Today, we're celebrating Jim's life. For all of you in the family, for all of you who are James' friends and relatives, I'm really, really, really sorry this happened. I'm really sorry you're in pain. It's just plain awful. Now, memorial services are usually about three things. They're about celebrating, grieving, and remembering. Having said that, the family wanted to take some time in the service to celebrate Jim's life and remember the joy, the laughter, the fun that he brought to you all. Having listened to the stories of the family, I'd say the least I could say is this guy was a character. And looking at the pictures out there in the lobby, I was going, okay, this is one of those guys that brought joy and laughter and fun wherever he went. So we're here to celebrate Jim in that way. But we're also here to grieve Jim's life. There'll be an empty chair from now on. A personality missing, a unique, precious, cherished man is gone now. He was God's one-of-a-kind treasures, never to be duplicated ever again. He loved and was loved, and he did it in his own unique style. We will grieve for all that being taken away from us. So we'll celebrate, we'll grieve, and then third, we'll remember. We'll remember the promise of God that this life is not all there is. And to those who have embraced and rely on Christ for their life here and in the hereafter, the promise for Jim and us is that death is graduation day. The day when Jim met the one who made him. So remembering that is part of the final part of today's time together. So we'll celebrate Jim's life, we'll grieve his loss, and we'll remember the promise today. Now, folks, the writers of the Bible had a lot to say, reflecting on and recording what God says about death and heaven and things that really matter. Here's just a couple of things the Bible records about these very important things that we think about every time someone dies. This one's from Jesus himself. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. If anyone believes in me, even though they die, they will live. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Here's another one from Jesus. Let not your hearts be troubled. You are trusting God, now trust in me. There are many homes where my Father lives, and I'm going to prepare them for your coming. When everything is ready, then I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am. If this were not so, I would tell you, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can get to the Father except through me. And lastly, a familiar one probably to you from Psalm 23. It's from a translation a little bit different maybe than what you've heard, but it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength. He guides me along the right paths, bringing honor to his name. Even though I walk through the dark valley of death, I will not be afraid. For you are close beside me. Your rod and staff protect and comfort me. My cup overflows with blessings. Surely your goodness and unfailing love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I'll live in the house of the Lord forever. Well, let's pray, shall we? Lord, we thank you for the opportunity we've had to be touched by Jim's life. He mattered to those here whose lives he touched. He meant something to everyone as well. Thank you for the joy and the fun that he brought to others. Thank you that he was your one-of-a-kind, never to be duplicated again, unique and cherished creation. You know him and you loved him all his life. As we remember his life, may we stop and take time to learn again that every life is a gift. May the family and friends here remember that he was a gift and thank you for his life. Pray that we'd all remember that you never stop pursuing us, never stop wooing us to come home to you, and will never stop loving us. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, celebrating Jim's life is recalling where life took him. So you'll hear a synopsis of James' life from his sister Carol. Carol, you can start coming on up here. And then some family and friends will share what they'll remember most about James. It should be quite an ordeal. You guys, part of the celebrating is to not only grieve and remember, but laugh along with them too, because you'll probably have a picture of them that come to mind. So here we go. You're hiding behind me. There you go.
Hello, I'm Carol Willcoxson Wooten. Jimmy was my wonderful brother. I would have done anything for him, and he would and often did any and everything for me. I loved him more than words can say, and with his tragic and sudden death, I bear, as do so many of us here today, a depth of pain and sadness that is unimaginable. Our family is forever grateful for your support, prayers, and the sharing of your precious memories of Jim. He loved every one of you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for loving and caring about this sweet man. There are so many words that describe my baby brother. Kind, sweet, loving, dedicated, giving, and funny, smart, responsible, honest, loyal. The list goes on and on, but one word in particular seems to best capture his essence, and that word is joyful. Jim was full of joy, and his joy was infectious. Being around Jimmy would invariably result in you too being filled with the joyous enthusiasm he had for life. He felt our joys as if they were his own. Jimmy's joyfulness was embodied in his big, beaming, ever-present smile. When we close our eyes to imagine him, what do we see? We see his big, joyous smile. This is our Jimmy. James Scott Willcoxson came into the world on July 4th, 1956. We were living in Chula Vista at the time, in a house our dad had built. When Daddy came home from the hospital that evening, he enthusiastically told my brother Bobby and me. John was only 16 months old and sound asleep. He said that we had a brand new firecracker of a baby brother. I can still remember that moment as if it was yesterday. Bobby and I were in our little jammies. We were sitting on the hearth of the Firestone fireplace in the living room. We were happy to have a new baby brother, but little did we know the joy of this little firecracker would bring to our family and to all those fortunate enough to know him. In 1963, our family moved to Blue Lake Drive in San Carlos. Jimmy, along with his brother Johnny, grew up in this wonderful and what might be described as idyllic neighborhood. They both attended Weinberg Elementary, Pershing Junior High, Patrick Henry High School. They were 1 year apart. The kids all played in the streets, and hung out at each other's home and formed friendships that have lasted a lifetime. It was rare in those days to sit down to a meal at our house that didn't include some of the neighborhood kids. Mom was legendary for her great cooking, and the kids ate it all up. No leftovers ever in this house. Jimmy loved school, was smart, got good grades, and would never miss a day of school no matter what. His teachers loved him, and he more often than not was the teacher's pet. How could he not be, with that big smile and his ever eagerness to help? He played Little League with his brother John and all the neighborhood kids. Coaches loved him and called him Smiley. He spent hours fishing at Lake Murray, trying to catch the biggest bass in the lake. He went backpacking several times in the Sierra with his buddies, Tony, Carl, and Ron. Take a look at some of the photos in the lobby. And here, I just love this one. I don't know if you can see it, but I mean, it's a newfound one for me. And Jimmy could have had a modeling career for Outdoor Magazine, as the photos show him, hamming it up on the trail. So take a look out there if you haven't already. There's just some wonderful photos of him, as he always was. He liked to ham it up. And thank you, Tony, for sharing these photos. They mean the world to me and my family. Jimmy's formative years were lived well and lived fully. By the time Jimmy had graduated from high school and went out into the world to make his mark, his fun-loving, winning personality and ability to make friends with everyone was in full swing. The tall and handsome guy touched many people in his positive, uplifting way, and he would continue to be everyone's friend, a characteristic that was present throughout his life. His dear friends, Rich and Anna Casillo, have provided a great story that I'd like to share. Anna writes, "When Rich and I were married in 1988, Jim was one of our groomsmen. I hired an acquaintance to be our videographer who was taking photography courses, but was not a professional wedding photographer. Just like all who met him, Neil, the videographer, took an instant liking to Jim and proceeded to hang out and follow Jim around at the wedding reception, including at one point even taking him into the men's bathroom as Jim showed him around the entire facilities. When Anna and Rich received the final version of their wedding and reception video, we could not help but laugh, as it seemed rather than being a tape of Rich and Anna's wedding day, there was so much footage of Jim, it could have been named A Day in the Life of Jim Willcoxson at the wedding of Rich and Anna. In his early 20s, Jimmy married Brenda, and with this union, the apple of his eye was born, Kobe Scott Willcoxson. Kobe was Jimmy's little buddy, became his world. Jim gave his all to Kobe, sparing nothing and always giving his special, unconditional love. They attended sporting events, Padres, Chargers, Storm, minor league baseball in Lake Elsinore, spent time just hanging out, talking about all things that interest young kids. Usually that meant sports of some sort. That was Jimmy's passion. He proudly coached Kobe in Little League. Coaching, like so many other activities, was a natural for Jim. He loved it, was good at it. He would quickly bond with the team and parents, and even the most difficult parents were easily won over. He was fair, encouraging, and fun. Kobe now has his family of his own. Wife Jessica, 4 great boys, Justice, Tristan, Kyle, and Maddie, and a new baby girl, Kinsley. As you can imagine, Jim's unconditional love, zest for life, and giving nature surrounded each of them. Kobe and family meant the world to Jimmy. Years went by and a new chapter opened up in Jimmy's life, one that involved a new marriage and an expanded family. With this marriage to Susan came a bonus. He had 2 new stepchildren, Christina, Marie, and Sean, and a house full of dogs. Jim loved those kids as his own. He coached them in Little League and softball, nurtured them, guided them, took them along with Kobe on family outings that was packed full of fun. As Jimmy got older, his brother Bobby and him became best friends. They shared a career in the moving industry and a love of sports and a love of family. They talked frequently and often, even though there were miles and several states separating them. Jimmy was a good worker, having our parents' strong work ethic. He was responsible, ethical, honest, and hardworking. Like with everything he did, work was always infused with his special bit of joy. He always gave it his all, No half measures for him. He had integrity and was a natural salesman. We joked that he could sell snow to an Eskimo, but that snow had to be good, none of that yellow stuff. There were two main careers in Jimmy's life. The first was managing our parents' 7-Eleven store on Palm and Living Grove. Many customers went to the store just to visit with Jim, to talk sports, and to feel uplifted. The second career was in the moving industry and started with when our mother worked as a secretary and manager for several moving and storage firms. She got Jimmy moving jobs when he was right out of high school. He later worked again for Atlas Transfer and Storage as a salesman. This was a perfect job for Jim. His outgoing, sunny disposition and ability to forge bonds with others led to much success and lasting friendships. When he married his soulmate, Carol, he moved to Fresno, started working for Colonial Van and Storage, and again enjoyed his job immensely. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't take time to tell you about Jimmy's first love, that being the love for his mother. This love was deep and never-ending. When Jimmy came home, her baby boy always had a small gift for her, a prize. Usually these gifts weren't of great monetary value, but almost always something that Mom wanted or would treasure, be it a piece of her favorite candy, a donut, a new kitchen gadget, or a pen. With the prize was always a few words that would make Mom laugh and make her feel on top of the world. He also enjoyed teasing Mom, and she loved it. Mom can't climb the stairs by herself now, so one of us has to take her upstairs, following behind to make sure she keeps her balance and doesn't fall. Always the competitor and always trying to make life fun, Jimmy would say to Mom as she started up the stairs, "Okay, Mom, let's race. See if you can beat your time. Now get ready. Ready, set, go. Go, Mom, go." And Mom would laugh and say, "Oh, Jimmy," and continue up the stairs in her normal, slow, steady pace, but with a big smile on her face. These are the small things that brought joy to Mom. The big stuff, love, devotion, care, and consideration, was always there, was the base, was our formation. For Jimmy, this was always a given. I want all of you to take comfort in knowing that the last few years were some of the happiest, if not the happiest years in Jimmy's life. He had found the one in Carol Holiday, married her, and was working in a job that fit him to a T. He loved living in Fresno, loved with all his heart his Carol, as he called her. This kind, gentle, joyful man continued to live life to its fullest, even up to the moment of his death. There was no confrontation, just a swift and sudden, and he died instantly in the process of making his beloved wife her favorite dish, jalapeno poppers. Our hole in our heart is huge, but we are also very happy that Jimmy found a slice of happiness some people never experience in a lifetime. Jimmy, you will live on inside us. Your goodness will be our light. Your strength will help us heal. We love you and miss you so very, very much. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Just a minute. Before I step down, I want to thank my brothers, Bobby and Johnny, along with my Ray and Johnny's Glory, for all their support, help, and love. We have leaned on each other and has made us stronger and even closer, if that's even possible. Love each of you so much.
People that are going to share from the family and friends. John, his brother's going to start off. If Justice and Kobe and Ray and Carl and Andy and Jim wouldn't mind joining me over here, and then we can just kind of, when everybody's done, we just kind of file up one at a time. That'd be great. So this is John. He's going to share a few memories.
Just a second, please. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm going to read this for a minute so I can kind of hold it together. Thank you all for coming. This means so much to my family. My dear mom is at 93, with all the love she has shown us, has made us humbly grateful. Our world took a big hit on March 24th, 2017. My brother Jimmy was so special to me. Not only was he my younger brother, but a great friend. My sister's eulogy touched it all. Each time we lose loved ones, we take time to remember and reflect on our loss, and that really helps. In true Jimmy kindness, I'd like to acknowledge some recent deaths and illnesses and provide our family support, love, and prayers to our friends during these very difficult times. Recently, Ken and Van de Haan lost their son Jared at the age of 25. My friend Rick Fairchild just passed a few weeks ago. Elmer Lennick, a childhood friend of Bruce Lennick's father, also passed away very recently. And two others I'd like to mention. Linda Gandy, very, very dear friend. Her mom, Franny, is possibly dying at the moment we speak. And my girlfriend, my best friend, the love of my life, is suffering. Her sister's mother-in-law, Ilona, who I worked with for 4 years, is also very ill. We pray for all these great friends and loved ones. The first word that came to my mind about my brother Jimmy was smiley. His infectious smile never caught you off guard. It was especially because he was smiling. One thing about Jimmy, he was even killed of a steady guy who took pride in his family and friends. Also, I'd like to acknowledge our extended families. Bobby Joe Willcoxson, his wife Judy, have always been a big part of our lives. They have shown us what really great families are all about in the true Willcoxson fashion. Each and every one of their children and grandchildren are great human beings. We thank many of them for coming today, and our love is strong. Bobby and Judy have always been a second parents to me, and their children have been like brothers and sisters. Our bond is strong. On the Simmons side of the family, my mom's side of the family, Billy, Jim, and Beverly have always lived far away, but are near to our hearts. Their children, Bradley and Tawana, have always been supportive and loving. Billy Jim was a Beth athlete in West Texas back in the day, and his son, Bradley, and some of his children have followed in this way. In true Willcoxson Simmons style, today I'm wearing a cowboy hat, which I only wear on special occasions because of Billy Jim and the fact that both my parents were from Texas. Fort Worth is where Billy's from. We love you so, and for you being there means so much, the world to us. And all the other cousins, nieces, and nephews, we and Jimmy's love blessed us with the children and the grandchildren. Thank you for committing. Thank you for coming so far. Thank you for coming so far to be with us in these troubled times. I would like to celebrate my brother's life and legacy. I was talking to Jim Jollett on Saturday after a terrible tragedy, and he said exactly what I was thinking concerning Jimmy's legacy. We both came up to the same thought, that Jimmy's legacy was love for his family and love of life. This says it all. Jim Willcoxson, R.I.P., you will be missed, my brother. Thank you for touching our lives. We all get affected differently when these tragedies happen. If you have the book, I wrote a bunch of poems that from my heart, and I think after Justice Speaks, I'll come up and read one or two of them. I'll just read a real brief one about Jimmy, and that's it, and then I'll turn the mic over. The smaller version of the larger one that's in there is called Red, White, and Blue. Red, white, and blue, this is for you. 4th of July, oh my, you're quite a guy. Such a deep sorrow, we will need to borrow from your soul to keep us whole. These are things I feel, and I'll always have a hole in my heart. But I thank my girlfriend Flory for being there for me and always loving our family, and she's become one of our own. So with that, Thank you all for coming. I love you all.
Well, first thing is it's really good to see everybody here. It's like a family reunion. It's a sad day, but I'm finding a lot of strength in seeing all these faces here. I just want to let everybody know I love you guys so much. I'm so thankful you guys are here. And yeah, it's good. It's a little nostalgia. So I prepared a little something. I'm really bad at this stuff. But you know, after just thanking you guys to be here and everything like that, everybody keeps asking, are you okay and all that. And I think we all are okay. We're gonna be okay because my dad gave us the strength to do all that stuff, and we have a big network. But it's also okay not to be okay. We try to pretend like we're super strong and everything is going to be okay, and it will. But we have some low moments with stuff like this, and that's okay. That's what makes us human, and that's why I love everybody so much. But to be honest, I'm just really surprised that we didn't do this at Costco. You love Costco. I mean, if he had it his way, we'd all be in the parking lot over there right now, getting free samples and all that kind of stuff. Instead, you come over with the oddest stuff, and I got this deal, it's $4, and I got this, and you come over with a truck full of cup of noodle or something. I mean, it was crazy. It was awesome. But he was always thinking about somebody else. He was always just like they were saying about bringing grandma a piece of candy, or my boys went to the Boys and Girls Club, and he was over there weekly. I mean, several times a week. We said, you gotta stop bringing him so much junk. And he didn't care. He was, but he loved us all so much, and it always came through. Life once asked death, why do people love me so much and just hate you? And to which death responded, because you're a beautiful lie, and I'm the ugly truth, my son. And Craig kind of hit it on the head when he started this, is that we don't know why, we don't really need to know why. We'll never know why. Nobody ever knows why. Nobody ever expects these tragedies. And we can't beat ourselves up over it. The silver lining is that we have each other. I'm seeing so many people in this room that I hope we keep in touch now. There is some silver lining. We can all come together. And that's a good purpose for all of this stuff, because I really do love you guys and miss everybody in this room. It was kind of weird too, because, Jess and I, we've lost, 6 people this last year. It's been a taxing year. And it kind of prepared me a little bit for some of this. I know it's going to happen, and it's going to go. It doesn't make things any easier, but Rich had a dream about my dad the night before. Where's little Bobby at? Bobby, he posted that thing on Facebook about the nostalgic times we used to have going to the Storm games. We were like the three amigos. We'd go to Storm games and Padre games and have these little road trips and everything like that. And, Bobby would pick on me, and then my dad would pick on him, and then Bobby would get mad at my dad because he was always sticking up for me, even though he's like 8 times my size. And it was just so fun. It just, the memories that we had were just absolutely phenomenal. With that being said, my son Maddie was asking questions about death the night before, and I didn't really know how to answer. And this stuff is really predetermined. From the moment that he was born, today, that day was going to be his last day, one way or the other. We can beat ourselves up over it, but the bottom line is that, it happened, it's time to move on. And, in order to heal, we don't need to know all the details. They really are irrelevant. We just need to know who he was the best guy I knew. He's my hero. But what we do know is that heaven needed a hero, and he was called back home, and we got to be okay with that. And He's not here with us right now in person, but I know he's here. You know, he's in our hearts. I see him every time I close my eyes. I can't, you know, every time I see somebody that looks like him, it's, you know, it's like a double take, and my heart starts to go, and it's every day. And it's, you know, just those little lapses, and it's like, oh wait, you know, he's in here. So, but some of us had the privilege of knowing him really well, and some of us, you know, it was for brief moments, and he always had an impact on all of us. You know, he always left a permanent impact. My wife, Jessica, she put together the slideshow, and she did a great job, by the way. She just used to always tease me that, yeah, my dad, your dad loves me more than he loves you. And I was totally okay with that. I loved it. I love that I could share my dad with that. I was always so happy to introduce him to people, to call him my dad. I was just proud to be his son. But anyway, my dad had the uncanny ability to just absolutely command a room. And he touched everybody in it with his fun. He was so fun. Everything, people had all these stories, and I'm sure we're going to hear some more stories up here. But there's just too many for me to pick any. It was just constant, always fun. Made everything so light, no matter how bad things got, it was okay. And he made everything okay, and he gave you a perspective that was unique to him. And I appreciate that. But it didn't matter what type you were. You know, it didn't matter if you were a Vader. It didn't matter if you believed this or believed that. It didn't matter what your social status was. It didn't matter how you dressed, how you looked, anything. He had the ability, like nothing I've ever seen, to connect with people in a raw level that just made everybody adore him. And he made everybody's day brighter. If we could have bottled him up and put him in a bottle and made him an antidepressant, man, we would be rich, let me tell you. It would have just been fantastic. And when we had the 7-Eleven, you know, like I said, he was adored by the vagrants. He was adored by the badasses. Oh, excuse my language. Sorry about that. All the people. The elderly, the nerdy, the cool. You know, it didn't matter any of that stuff. They all loved him. And, you know, they always told me, well, you're lucky to have your dad. And well, I already know that. I don't need you to tell me that. He's awesome. But I was always so proud of him. And, you know, what he did and what he stood for. He's a man of integrity. He was a man of honor. He was always a man of his word. If he said he was going to do something, he was going to do it. And he never wavered in any of that stuff. But I was always proud to call him my dad, always proud to introduce him to people. And so, let me see what we got here. But, you know, it wasn't always rainbows either. You know, there were a lot of tough times that, you know, kind of are behind the scenes and things like that. And, you know, really the only time that I've ever seen my dad in a dark place was after Rex died. We all were. And, you know, it was a period of time when, you know, we kind of lost the glue to the family, and we all kind of scattered. Not necessarily in a bad way, you know, but we all kind of had our own lives, you know, created our own families and things like that. And, you know, but he was always somebody, even in those dark times, that you were drawn to. And it was so real and raw and genuine. And he was, you know, even in his dark times, he had the ability to just make you see things in a different way and made you see life in such a beautiful way. And he always kind of kept me even keeled, not too up, not too down. If I ever got too down, he always could bring me back, and he always could do it immediately. He had that ability to do that. And he just had the ability to cut right through everything and just get to it. The other thing is my dad forgave everyone, for any reason ever. Even when we didn't deserve it, he did it. And he was always looking forward, and every single day, and boy, he could rip into you, let me tell you. But every single day was a new start. He wasn't dragging up the past or throwing things in your face. Every day was a brand new opportunity to be the man or the woman that he knew you could be. And he gave you the opportunity, and he gave you the tools and the help and the support and everything you needed to do it, mostly by just making you so positive and the good vibe that he had. He had such a positive vibration that was, like Carol said, it was infectious. But he had a way of changing you, and the weird thing is that he never was really trying to change you. He knew what he could control and what he couldn't control, and in him doing that, it really had a profound effect to you changing, because he knew nobody was going to do anything they didn't want to do unless they made their mind up they were going to do it first. So he never tried to convince anybody to be a certain way or anything like that. He was just kind of the role model, and he was the rock, and everybody just kind of followed suit. You know, the one thing that I do remember with my dad is the one word that I can probably say would define him to me was just safe. I always felt safe, and in every way around him. But he was a beautiful, beautiful man. He was also a grandson, and he was your son, Grammy. And you guys did such a great job with all of us. I'm honored to be a part of this family and to be a part of this network. And I'm honored to have had the best dad anyone could have ever had. And excuse me. But all of that hit me real hard as I'm up here looking at everybody. We do have such a big network, and I'm finding so much more strength in everybody else being a part of this and everybody else in that pain. It may sound a little weird. You know, it's tough to find that strength, and when we see others hurting that are the strongest people in our life that we know, and we see them hurting, you know, it gives us a little bit of strength to go, you know what, I need to help him now. And I think everybody's kind of being that way. Everybody is finding a little bit of strength for everybody else. But I missed y'all a lot. You know, we may fight sometimes, but that's only because we have passion. And wherever there's going to be passion, there's going to be some fighting. And yeah, I don't really ever remember my dad fighting. He had a way of fighting that wasn't fighting. It was really weird. But, you know, he had a ton of passion. And he had a ton of passion for the family. He loved his grandkids so much. But also, I wanted to say that my dad loved his Carol so much. I've never seen him so dedicated. I've never seen him so happy as he was with you. And it was one of the happiest days of my life when you guys got married, just because I saw how happy he was. I loved it. And I loved you immediately. We stayed up all night talking. And you know, you're like the female version of him. I love you just like I love you, or loved him, and we're not far. You still got me. I'm still your boy, and we love you too. But I know that if he could do this stuff all over again, and he knew what the outcome was going to be, he'd do it again. I know he would, because he loved you so much. You know, it was like serendipity, and not many people get that opportunity for that kind of joy and that kind of happy. And it's okay that this happened, because he found it before he left us. And I know he would do it all over again, and I know that he would want everybody to make sure that we loved you and kept in touch with you, because you were so important to him. So I'm also looking at a whole lot of people that probably owed him a whole lot of nickels and dimes and dollars in the little bets that we used to have. And it was never really about the nickels and dimes. It was always about bragging rights, because we were always talking smack. That was, you know, he was teasing Grandma, and it was the friendly competition. It was always so fun. And, you know, we always used to say, he's the only guy I never mind coming in second to. And, you know, it was like Uncle Billy used to say, coming in second in this group ain't bad. So it was always okay coming in second to him, because, you know, That's fine with me, man. You're coming in second in that. That's as good as it gets. And so many good memories with Sean, Christina, my brother and sister, and so many good memories of him teaching us how to, play baseball, how to fish. We used to go every Sunday back when I was a kid, and I was in the paper one time for it. And he was so proud. He was telling everybody about it, and it was fantastic. But it's no secret also, I want to say this really quick, that there are some broken relationships that have happened over the years in here, and this is a good opportunity as any to move on from it. It's what my dad would have done for any of us, and I know that we can do it. It's in all of us. It's not a problem. I was estranged from my mom for a few years, and he's the one that got us back together. I think there's a lot of pain for both of us. And he was the one that was always like, you know what, that's your mom, it doesn't matter, it's going to fester if you don't do this, you need to do it. And it was, he always was that kind of guy where he wanted everybody's relationships to be good. And but now I have my mom back. And I couldn't got through this first couple of weeks, or week, or whatever it's been. Time is kind of not of the essence right now, but we wouldn't have got through all this stuff if it weren't for my girls. My penguin, my wifey Jessica, my mom, she's been fantastic, and my little girl Kinsley Faith, who has just been such a daddy's girl, and loving on me, and kissing on me, and smiling, and she just makes everything, she's that perspective. But anyway, Uncle Vic, Uncle Bob, going on trips with you as a kid, earning all the money for my first cars and everything like that. Uncle Vic, you're just Uncle Vic, just so fun, and you guys are like second dads to me. My other family too, on this side, I still have a mom and dad left, and they are my mom and dad. I love them so much, and it's been the same for them. So I still have some dads left, so that's good. But he had zero enemies. He never gave up on any of us. And my son Justice was really, him and Justice had a very special relationship, and it went beyond anything. It was like me and my Gramps. It was like best friends, and I love seeing that too. And of course he loved the other kids, but Justice was older, so there's a little bit more of the the stuff you can do when you're older. But he was always the first person I wanted to talk to about things. If there was something that happened, something going on with sports or something like that, I was always thinking about talking to him. Hey, we gotta go and talk about it. Call him up and talk smack, or hey, what do you think about this? Oh, that's a stupid move. Oh, great move. Whatever the Padres and the Chargers were doing and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he loved us unconditionally. He loved us for who we were. He always gave us a chance, and he was the epitome of unconditional love. And he loved so awesomely that it was like I said, a tool or a weapon. So anyway, we can use this to come together, and I think we have. We can use this to bury hatchets if there's any out there, because nothing's ever broken. We can rebuild these bridges, we can rekindle these relationships, and all it takes is a phone call. We all live in different places, and it would mean a lot to me if everybody in this room created some new relationships out of this, and rekindle old ones, and made sure that we keep in touch with the folks that are most important to us, because I think, without a doubt, that's the silver lining in this, and we're going to make it the silver lining in this. So, with that being said, he was my real-life superhero. Now he's our real-life guardian angel, and thanks again for coming out. Everything's going to be fine, I promise. Let's make this fun and give lots of Jim Dandy hugs to each other, and nobody can leave without giving me a hug first. I'll apologize in advance for the slideshow. You're going to see a lot of short shorts and fluorescent pullovers and fanny packs. So we'll get through that together. We'll get through that part too. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say I love you guys, and thanks for being here. It means so much.
Thank you, Cody, and boy, that's a very tough act to follow. Thank you, Cody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ray Weber, and I've been the man in Jim's sister, Carol Wooten's life since meeting her in 2005. Carol and I first met at one of her real estate open houses 12 years ago, and I quickly learned that her mother and her 3 younger brothers meant everything to her. When I met the family early on, Carol asked me who the 3 tall, tightly knit brothers reminded me of. The one quick comparison that quickly came to my mind were the Earp brothers from the 1880s Western fame. The oldest, Bobby, was, of course, the Marshal, Virgil Earp. Johnny was, of course, Wyatt Earp. And younger brother Jimmy, the very pleasing and charming Morgan Earp, who, like the very, very youngest of all the brothers, Warren Earp, Kobe, loved hanging out with the older brothers. Just for the record, Doc Holliday has to be the very long-time loyal friend of the family, Andy Geyer, in the audience today. To Carol's delight, we all bonded very well back in those early days, in large part due to Jim's Texas size welcoming me as he resided at the house for my first 10 years or so. He made me feel more than comfortable, exactly 100% of the times that I visited. Huge family holiday feast. Thank you, Chef Tommy. Followed by Texas Hold'em family card games, getting to know each other. And by the way, Jim never once complaining about shuttling Carol and I to the airport at any hour of the day and night were all distinct memories of the house back then. We also got to see the Willcoxson nieces and nephews all grow up, lots of banter and talk of sports and various activities, perhaps a little cigar smoke, or a visit from Jimmy's Uncle Jack Daniels. All made for many a great memory. Carol once asked me what I thought of it all. Normal guys, great guys, beautiful family, game on, Carol. Carol also said to me, "You fit right in, Ray, you just lack the height and the last name." Other than Jim's sisters, Carol, who we endlessly adored, what helped link our friendship was the common bond of various sports and athletics. When Jim wasn't filling me in on his son Kobe and the 5 grandchildren who we all loved dearly, and when he wasn't making sure that I wasn't tripping over his size 18 shoes that were positioned eternally at the base of the stairs near the front door, Jim loved the sports connection, and he initiated semi-competitive trivia with myself, and very often with the brothers too. About 6 years ago, we were all celebrating Jim's 4th of July birthday at the family favorite Anthony's of La Mesa. Brother John and I were elated that the Padres were sitting in first place at the close of the halfway mark of the season, but brothers Bob and Jim felt that it was a fluke, that they weren't very good and that it would end soon. And finally, John ended the conversation by simply stating, "What more do you both want? They're in first place." Well, wouldn't you know it, about 6 weeks later, I'm over at the house and I'm in the kitchen on an August summer night, and Jim comes rumbling down the stairs, heading to the fridge, as he avoids tripping over his size 18 shoes perched at the base of the stairs. We made some small talk about the Padres, the losing streak, and the current August swoon. And as Jim heads back upstairs without breaking stride, he shouts at me, "They're 13 and a half games out of first place. We told you at Anthony's that they weren't any good." That's just vintage Jim, all the way. A true highlight of mine were the few occasions that I shared my passion with Jim. Taking him up to my tour of Troy to USC to watch my Trojans at the Coliseum. It was Jim's very first time at campus, and he just soaked it all in. He dressed the part, wore the colors, did what Carol and I did, and also quickly polished off a bacon-wrapped hot dog upon arrival. He loved the campus, the music, the Heisman trophies at Heritage Hall, the history, the photo ops galore, and meeting all of the tailgating characters and our friends too. Jim was a joy to take to Troy. Once inside the 88-year-old historic Memorial Coliseum, Jim loved taking it all in, all 90,000 fans, the horse on the field, the Olympic torch being lit in the night, glowing in the dark sky, the band, the game. Nobody needed to say a word, as Jim's eyes just danced around the Coliseum, absorbing it all. Ironically, a few years later, Carol randomly found a now treasured photo of her dad in the same exact setting. We think he was about 18 years old then, from back around 1939 or so. Anyway, we all shared a special day, and Jim agreed that the game day pageantry was all like Patton, Ben-Hur, and Disneyland all rolled into one. Jim had also never been to a January 1st, New Year's Day Rose Bowl game, so I put an end to that on January 1st, 2007, as the Trojans and the University of Michigan squared off at the old Arroyo Seco. Big bands, flyovers, the parade, pageantry galore, Chamber of Commerce, perfect Pasadena weather. The lovely San Gabriel Mountains, the iconic Keith Jackson at the mic, and the whole nation watching on ABC national TV, many from back in the cold and the snow. I'll always treasure that majestic day, Jim sharing it with Carol and I, and to recall the boyish, priceless look on Jim's face throughout that day. It was just all a beautiful thing. I never knew Jimmy as a boy, but to me, Jimmy will always carry the charm of a boy. A positive and enthusiastic outlook on life, a golf club in one hand, maybe a baseball in another, Jimmy going fishing, another Aztec or Padre game to take in, another perfect San Diego summer day to look forward to. I can close my eyes and imagine Jim's flowing blonde hair as a boy, hanging with family and friends in days of his youth when time seemed endless back then. We were all close in age, and we would have had so much fun and so much in common back in those days of old as well. Jim the boy, who always treated his mother and sister like gold, quickly and physically grew into Jim the man. But truly, Jim became a man when he happily became a loving husband, his path in life eventually finding and marrying Carol, happily moving north to Fresno. Jim's evolution continued in life when he became a father and also a many-time grandfather. Loyalty and love of family, a man of fine character, a caring and accepting man, a well-known and well-liked professional in his native San Diego as a grown man. Were all Jim's trademarks. Everyone who met Jim liked and will always love the unforgettable James Scott Willcoxson. He left that type of impression as we see today. A wonderful and loving human being was a James Scott Willcoxson that I'll always remember, and that I was so very blessed to know quite well through my link to his superb sister Carol for these last 12 terrific years. Jim had just recently mentioned to me, time really has flown by quickly. I always remember that comment too, along with the unforgettable smile of his and a great pleasing charm, that of a boy, who was also a great and loving man. Jim, who was somewhat of a combined great friend, brother, and brother-in-law to me, has been called home to the Lord now. But we will always carry on your legacy in our hearts, and we will always and forever and ever love you, Jim.
Thanks, Reagan. Fight on. USC, go. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Andy Geyer, and I'm standing up here today because I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have met and then become good friends with what I call my WWF, the wonderful Willcoxson family, since, for just a little over 40 years. I first met Jimmy through his brother John. I met John through a mutual friend. Oddly enough, we're on our way to the racetrack, if I remember right. But when I first was invited over to that wonderful home over at 8015 Blue Lake Drive, I walked in. I was immediately met with just warmness, friendliness, how you doing, made to feel welcome at home. It's been like the way ever since. And then I met Jimmy. He came bounding down the stairs. You know, Jimmy was always bounding up and down those stairs. And John introduced us. We shook hands. He said, "Nice to meet you, Andy." And I got that first look at that Jim smile, which I'll never forget. And then we just hit it off right away, just from the start. We both think we knew a little bit about sports, and that led to some lively discussions and some debates, and yeah, we'll see about that type of deal. Yeah, it was never an argument. It was never mean-spirited with Jim. But we had our share, and I always look forward to talking to him about that. And we would always end with a "see you soon," handshake, and I'd see that smile. And it was like that with Jim and I over the years, over the many years. Every time we get together, sometimes it'd be 6 months have gone by, and first thing we do is catch up on family. And in those early years, how's Kobe doing? And I met Kobe, he was about that high. Now I've seen him growing in.
Proud. This is great. I'm Carl Robbins, and Jim and I were very good friends at a great time in life, between the time we were 15 and 25. Not that we weren't after that, but there's magic that happens between guys. I'm sorry? Yeah, exactly. There's magic that happens during that time, and we fished together, we backpacked together, we went to baseball games, we had the time of our lives. And it was really fun. Jim was a great friend. I'm a great friend to him. We'll always be. We're trying to do a Remember Jim. Is anyone in this room possibly going to forget Jim? I sure don't think so. He's a wonderful guy, and we'll remember him forever. I guess one of the stories that I enjoy the most about coming over to the Willcoxson house, and Carol, this is all about you at this point. I want audience participation. How many people knew Benji? I want to see hands up. How many people knew Benji? All right, now this isn't the Disney Benji. This is...
You're wondering who this ugly kid up here is. I'm Justice Scott Willcoxson, Kobe's son, Jim's grandson, and I guess you could say maybe one of his best friends. Now I just want to start with a quick question. Who in here ever had a conversation with him and didn't come out joyful? Raise your hands. No. Who in here hated him? No. No one. And I could walk off the stage right now and say that's it. That could just tell you what kind of man he was. If you had a conversation with him, you would not be able to come out of that room with him and say, I've never met a better person than who I just talked with. He's just an all-around joyful person. I received a message from Jim and Jill Steed. He had moved them in. My dad had mentioned something like it.
Leave a legacy of one kind or another. And a legacy is something that's transmitted or received from someone, character traits, habits, actions and words. These things and more are what we're remembered by. The legacy might be he was a hard worker, or she was always there for us, or they were soft-spoken, outspoken, nice person, or something else. I don't think it's been too hard to catch what Jim's legacy would be. But whatever legacy is left behind reveals the main thing that something, or that someone invested their life in, whether it's said at a memorial service or not. Everyone knows. And that legacy reflects the answer to this question. What did they do with their one and only life? If it was a more general question to us, what are we going to do with our one and only life? Jim's family gave me a couple of big themes that I believe Jim was all about. Two themes grabbed my attention: kindness and being concerned for others. Those are the two major characteristics found in a passage from the Bible that describes what love looks like in real life. Let me read it to you. Love is patient and kind.